is going to the Final Four.
The following is a Learfield presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game. Big Ten champions. Big Ten champs.
National champions, yes.
Oklahoma City bound the Oregon Ducks.
Awesome day to be a Duck, man.
Boom inside. Touchdown Oregon. He gets loose. Fires. Hit. Pops the three. Oh, yeah. It's all Oregon.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider.
It's about how to be a group of people that know how to love each other to the absolute fullest.
Pleasure, a joy to be with them each and every day, and I can't wait for the future.
It's just fun to be a part of a community that cares, that is passionate, and when we come together, powerful things can happen.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck athletics.
Getting ready for a road trip to Iowa. A 12:30 kickoff. Oregon facing the Hawkeyes in a top 20 battle. 10:30 our pregame show begins across the Oregon Sports Network. It is also Oregon Volleyball match day today. Oregon Volleyball in action against UCLA. A matchup that I think this is a critical one. Oregon already got UCLA on the road. 7 o'clock tonight. You can watch on Fox Sports 1. Telling you, this is a big one at Matthew Knight Arena. Hope to see a very full Matthew Knight Arena. Why is this a big one? Well, one, because it's the next one, as every coach would say. But I do think that there is a, shall we say, narrowing path to the NCAA tournament for this volleyball team. And this one at home, I think, is critical. Get this one, I feel good about Oregon's chances in the NCAA tournament in the postseason coming up. Last night on the Oregon Football Coaches Show, it was great to have Chris Hampton, co-defensive coordinator, defensive backs coach, on with us. Little preview of Iowa. And I thought it was fun to hear him, too, talk about how he goes about coaching breaking up passes, defending passes, the science behind it, why you orient your body a certain way as a defensive back. So if you missed it, subscribe to the Oregon Sports Network podcast and maybe go back and on the Goducks YouTube or the Oregon Football social media channels, check out the Oregon Football Coaches Show from last night. That also featured Isaiah World. Isaiah World, he just has a great smile constantly. And yet, then he puts that helmet on and he's on the offensive line, and I would want to go nowhere near Isaiah World. Talking about that matchup, though, coming up and how critical the battle in the trenches will be, I think we all agree that football games are often won and lost in the trenches. Well, Gary Dolphin has seen a lot of great trench play from Iowa over the years. Gary Dolphin is the longtime voice of the Hawkeyes, and that's how we kick off our show today. The view from the other side of this top 20 meeting. We'll also hear from some Duck football student athletes coming up. Let's begin our chat with the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin. So I have made 2 trips to Iowa now as we welcome the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin, is here with us. All right, so I've been there for men's basketball. I've been there for baseball, Gary. Now the Ducks get to go there for football, and I went and thought about this. Y'all are the first trifecta for me on the schedule. The first football, men's basketball, and baseball check for me as a broadcaster. So I'm excited to be able to talk with you. How are things in Iowa City?
Well, they're good, Joey. Winter's settling in. I mean, the weather's still decent and will be. I mean, I know Oregon's used to rain. We might have a little moisture on Saturday, but it'll be in the high 30s, 40s at kickoff. The wind will be a little, typically November, but we don't have to worry about wind chills yet in Iowa. That'll come next month. But I'm proud to say that the Hawks are the first trifecta for you. I forgot about the baseball. Man, what a great program Oregon has had. But I got to one of those games. I was standing beyond the Iowa bench. You were only a few feet from Kinnick Stadium then.
Yep.
And you'll get to see it firsthand on Saturday. The campus layout is unique. It is in that most of the original buildings are right in the middle of a residential section of town. Campus is just up the hill from downtown Iowa City and just east of Coralville, which has exploded in growth. And so it's a different perspective of a college camp. It's one of the old original Big Ten campuses, and the hospital, Children's Hospital, right across the street. The university hospitals would love to buy up the property that Kinnick sits on, and send the football program out to Interstate 80 somewhere where the access would be easier. But you know what? It's one of the great tailgating spots in America because of where it is. And so we'll be very warm-hearted to the Ducks when they roll into town on Saturday.
Well, I love it. Well, I'm looking forward to it. You hit on a couple things that I want to ask you, but first, Gary, we have a tradition here on Duck Insider. We're all competitive, and I'm here to tell you that I think you can knock out our buddy Don Fisher. We do what's called a 2-minute life story. So we need to hear the 2-minute life story of Gary Dolphin. Now, this isn't Price is Right rules. You don't get a violation if you go over. I'm not going to ring a buzzer at you. But I am going to start a stopwatch. And I hope that you can join our leaderboard. Don Fisher did this in 1:53.83. I'm here to tell you, Gary, I think you can do better in the 2-minute life story. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. The 2-minute life story of Gary Dolphin. On your mark, get set, go.
I grew up 60 miles from Kinnick Stadium. My mom and dad were season ticket holders for a lot of years. Unfortunately, my dad passed away when I was a freshman in high school, so I didn't get to enjoy many trips to Kinnick, then Iowa Stadium. But he gave me mom and dad gave me a little spin dial RCA transistor radio when I was like 8 or 9 years old. And I found it fascinating that I could just turn it a little bit, keep going to the right at night, laying in my bunk bed, and pick up all these Hall of Fame baseball announcers. Ernie Harwell in Detroit, Merle Harmon in Minneapolis, Jack Buck, Bob Prince in Pittsburgh, of course, Bob Elson in Brickhouse, and Harry Carey in Chicago. That's where I fell in love with radio. That's how I ended up going to journalism school. And my life goal was to be, at some point, the voice of the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, I tell kids in journalism and communication classes it took me 27 years to get my dream job. So it doesn't happen overnight. You got to stay with it. Stick to your goals and to your principles, and things will work out fine. Did 6 years of Northwestern, worked for the Bears for 10 years in TV production, and got the call from Iowa in 1997 to at least apply for the Iowa job, and was fortunate enough to get it. And here we are 28 years later, farm boy from Cascade, Iowa, the voice of the Hawkeyes. That's the best I can do, Joey.
Let's go. Great life story. 1:23.56. That was efficient.
I'm shocked that Fisher got it in under 2 minutes.
Well,
how long was Steve Jones?
Steve's was
at
not.
Penn State.
Steve's wasn't on the leaderboard. I'll just put it that way. Gary was actually a little more like you, a little more just quick, efficient, to the point. It's like you've done this before, you know. But yeah. Don, and then I have not gotten the chance to do this with Johnny Holiday from Maryland yet. He and Don have been doing it, a long time. So this has been fun for me, though, to hear. So I'm curious. So we, Gary, are doing something at Oregon that I think is cool for what you just said. Everybody used to have a transistor radio in the stands, right? Well, then, we had streaming and phones, and everything's a little more delayed. Well, we're actually doing a zero latency broadcast, Gary, and I'm hoping that the goal here is to hook another kid like you who's like, wow, I can just do this on my phone and listen to Jerry and Jorgie call the game in real time. I'm hoping that transistor radios, we just turn your phones into a transistor radio. So that's cool to hear that's how you, part of at least, how you got into all this.
I wish I still had that little, it wasn't any bigger than an oversized wallet.
Right.
Those little RCA. And this is 1959, 1960. And to this day, if you dump some truth serum in me, I would tell you that baseball has always been my favorite sport to play by play. I was fortunate enough to do 6-7 years of minor league baseball in the old Midwest League. But basketball and football got in the way after that. And, I love all sports, but baseball forces you, Joey, as you know, to be creative, to think you've got 25, 30 seconds between pitches. It's a slow game, and you've got to fill time. And my mentor told me one time, a Hall of Fame broadcaster, he said, you know what? When you're getting your butt kicked, you better have a sense of humor.
That's right.
I go, what? He goes, yeah. How are you going to keep your audience? And I've been on the end of enough, 42-7 football games and 25-point losses in basketball. It really makes you better, those losses. You don't want too many of them. But so that's my my life story in about what would you say, a minute 23, minute 24?
Minute 23.56. Yeah, minute 23.56.
All right.
Efficient. See, look, that's word efficiency. I tell young broadcasters all the time, you got to be as descriptive as J.R.R. Tolkien. You need to have a little kid personality like an old Dr. Seuss book, but you also better be able to say it in about 5 words because that's how fast it goes.
One of my favorite lines, shorter is better.
Yeah.
Shorter is better. Don't be too short, but don't go overboard. If I do a visual or an interview, I do a weekly podcast too, and the interview's never more than 9-10 minutes. You hit double figures, and you start to lose people. Well, not you and I, of course. We'll hold them for an hour, but that's a rarity.
Well, here's to tell you we're going double digits today because we are already having a lot of fun with the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin. Okay, Iowa so far this season, Gary. Educate Duck fans a little bit. What was the expectation going into the season? How have the Hawkeyes lived up to it this year?
I'm one of those guys where the tougher the schedule, the better. I love tougher schedules. I think it makes you better when November gets here, and I'm speaking, of course, of college football. When I looked at that schedule last spring or this summer, I said, this is probably as tough a schedule as Iowa's had in a decade. And some people might be scratching their hats or their heads already. But who knew Wisconsin would be the Wisconsin that we're looking at now? The Hawks had to go to Camp Randall,
right,
which is not an easy place to play. Who knew that a 5-2 Minnesota team just didn't answer the bell last week, and the Hawks win it by 35 or whatever it was? Who knew that Nebraska, we knew they'd be good. Now they're without their quarterback. Who knew Penn State would come into Iowa City, the mess that they were without Drew Aller? But you know what? That's not Iowa's problem. When you looked at those, Indiana, Penn State, Michigan State, Minnesota coming to Iowa City, and then having to go to Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, to Camp Randall, to USC next week, having to face Oregon at home this weekend. That's a tough schedule, really. And we have to play Iowa State every year.
Right.
Iowa State. That's a big time game. Lost by a field goal there the second week of the year. But the Hawks have gotten better and better each week. And some of the components just never seem to change, Joey, with defensive coordinator Phil Parker and that defense. I mean, they're spectacular, and they've lost the likes at linebacker of Jack Campbell and Jay Higgins and Nick Jackson and Sebastian Castro. They're all in the NFL right now in the last couple of years. But they're a plug and play defense, and that's how Parker recruits. But I think the X factor. They also have a quarterback now in Mark Gronowski, which I know we'll get to. But Caden Weegan and special teams have been the X factor. They have given Iowa great field position all year long. Weegan is a more diminutive Cooper DeJean. He doesn't care if the 7th Army is coming down the field at him on a punt return. He's not going to fair catch. You better kick it out of bounds or kick it away from him anyway. And then they have an All-American kicker in Drew Stevens, who just went past Nate Kading, all-time field goals leader at Iowa. And they've got another punter from Australia who can boom at 60 or 70 yards, but he's averaging about 46. And so when you put all three components together, you got very complementary football. The offense is better, and that has certainly helped, because if you can keep a defense like Iowa's on the sideline resting with long, sustained drives, you got a chance to beat anybody.
You just hit on what I have said I think might be the key to this game, which is special teams. Gary, I am the first to say I love a good punter. There is nothing like changing the game with a great punter. And these are two teams, two coaching staffs that it seems like really emphasize that. I feel like field position, special teams are a big key to this game this weekend.
Invaluable, Joey, this weekend and every weekend. I grew up a Chicago Bears fan. I've been a long-suffering Bears fan the last few years, but I watched Torrey Taylor punting now for the Bears, and his, he's 2 years away from Iowa. His hang time is phenomenal, and you really rarely can return a Torrey Taylor punt. Reese Dakin is a lot like that. He's not Torrey Taylor yet. He's just a redshirt sophomore, but he could be by the time he leaves Iowa. And then, Drew Stevens has got leg strength. There's been a few in practice. He's kicked 65 yards, and some of those might be with a prevailing wind. But when you got that kind of weapon that can get you 3, and now Gronowski, who is more of a running quarterback than a throwing quarterback, but some Iowa fans are complaining now that we're not throwing enough touchdown passes. When for 5 years it's been we can't score, period. I don't care how you find the end zone. I don't care what position you're playing, as long as you can get it in the end zone, whether you're running in. And part of the factor there is we're a little weak. I know that's hard to figure that when Iowa's ever weak at tight end, but we've had a litany of All-American, All-Pro tight ends from Hawkinson to Kittle to Noah Fant, and on and on and on. But when Iowa lost Addison Ostrenga, who was a returning All Big Ten performer at tight end in the Iowa State game, second week, tore his Achilles. Now we're relying on a freshman and a redshirt sophomore who just haven't played. They're getting better. So, Iowa needs to run the ball more. And, of course, thankfully, that's Iowa's meal ticket. They've been a great running team for a lot of years.
Well, I just have one thing to say, and that is weak is relative. I mean, you unfurl that scroll of tight ends in Hawkeye history books. Weak might be relative as we continue with Iowa broadcaster Gary Dolphin. Okay.
I always miss somebody, Joey. Sam Laporta would punch me in the nose if I left him out of the conversation.
That's true.
There's at least, I think, 6 of them playing in the NFL right now. But I digress.
That's what I mean. Weak is relative. I meant that. Weak really is relative. I mean, it puts it in perspective, right? You think about what each program is known for. Yeah, that's good stuff from Gary Dolphin. We're going to get time out, come back more with the voice of the Hawkeyes on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear Truckin' Awesome, Toyota Tundra's got heart-pounding horsepower. Tacoma is one rugged ride, and the 4Runner is tough as nails. Truck yeah. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by one of your local branches today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear Truckin' Awesome, Toyota Tundra's got heart-pounding horsepower. Tacoma is one rugged ride, and the 4Runner is tough as nails. Truck yeah. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
I'm Chris Jakovic. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. Being a veteran, it's interwoven into your DNA. It's really the absence of the connection and the purpose that can really drive a lot of veterans to some negative thoughts. For those who are in a suicidal crisis, the window of time to save somebody's life is very short. Our duty is to protect ourselves and protect our families. And one way you can do that is store your weapons safely. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
This message is for Karina, our mom who finished her high school diploma at age 28. Hi, Mom. It's Emmettith and Nicholas.
Congratulations on getting your diploma.
You worked so hard and have taught us so much. We love you.
When you graduate, they graduate. Finish your high school diploma for you and for them. Visit finishyourdiploma.org to find free and supportive adult education centers near you. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Doug Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack with you in the Country Financial Studio, continuing our conversation with the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin. I've now known Gary for a few years. The Ducks and Hawkeyes have met previously and on the basketball floor, and he is awesome. And I loved some of his perspective, too, on this game as we continue with the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin. All right, now how about, with that in mind maybe, how about this offense? What's been the difference? You hit on some of it. What's the difference with the offense this year?
It's an offensive line that was rated, if I remember the article back in September, the number 2 ranked offensive line in college football in terms of returning starters and talented individuals. And that offensive line has stayed healthy for the most part. Logan Jones at center is a 3-year starter. He's on the Outland Trophy. Lombardi, I mean, pick a watch list. Logan Jones is on it. They've got an outstanding right tackle in Jennings Dunker. He's a 5th-year senior. He'll be playing on Sunday in the NFL next week. They have 2 nasty guards in Bo Stevens and Cade Pieper. Stevens is a senior. Pieper is a redshirt sophomore from Indianapolis. His grandpa played, was a great player at Notre Dame. And then Pieper's from Nebraska. The left tackle, Trevor Locke. It's rare when a redshirt freshman starts at left tackle in the Big Ten, but this kid, he's from Indy. His lineage is outstanding. They're not as big as the Ducks' offensive line. Iowa, as you know, historically likes their offensive tackles and guards anywhere from 295 to 310. See Marshall Yonda, see Eric Steinbach, see Brendan Sheriff, see Robert Gallery, guys that are big but can run. And that this is where it starts for Iowa, Joey, offensively. That O-line, you wonder why Iowa runs the ball so effectively. That O-line is the reason why. And Gronowski gives you another element, another look. He's an RPO guy. Now he's 6'2", 235.
Yeah.
But he can get out on the edge and pick out a receiver, or he'll tuck and run. You'll see both on Saturday.
And then I got to ask you about the defense. I mean, death, taxes, and Iowa football playing good defense.
Yeah, and it starts up front again. I think if you look at that 6-2 record, you say, gee, what is Iowa? Tough schedule. They've had some injuries. What's the story? Iowa is very good at the line of scrimmage. I talked about the offensive line. The defensive line has got an All-American at tackle in Aaron Graves. He's a finalist for the National Football Foundation academic / player award. It's the Campbell Award. I was struggling there. The Bill Campbell Award, which is the academic Heisman Trophy.
Right.
So the guy is a smart guy, and he's been a starter. He's a senior. He's got 4 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, but he's so smart. As soon as the Ducks break the huddle on Saturday, Aaron's going to know where the play is going. Now, can he get everybody else in position? He's important that way. They have 2 defensive ends who have been all Big Ten and have started for 3 years. Max Llewellyn and Ethan Herkett. You'll hear those names, or you'll call those names a lot. The one defensive tackle, Y.A. Black, who's now with the Steelers, they brought in 2 transfers. Iowa's not a big transfer school. We don't quite have that budget to bring in 15 guys a year, but they did bring in 2 transfers this year. Jonah Pace, who is a tremendous talent from Central Michigan, a very successful program. And then Bryce Hawthorne, who came with Gronowski from South Dakota State. Those 2 guys have been rotating. The linebackers are first-year starters, but they're juniors and seniors. They've been waiting their turn. But in the back end, I think this has been the key, Joey, are the safeties. They moved the X-Man, Xavier Wampa, to free safety. He was Iowa's one of the few 5-star recruits that Iowa's been able to get in the Kirk Ference era. He's a Des Moines kid, and he is having a phenomenal year at the free safety. And then they brought in, next man in, Cohen Ontringer, who started for a couple years, a kid out of the Ypsilanti, Michigan area. He's having a great year. The safeties have been spectacular. Zach Lutmer, who was a safety, has now dropped down into that cash position where Sebastian Castro was a year ago. And so those 3 guys have been tremendous. They're all upperclassmen. They've all, seen Phil Parker's defense. They've played in it for 3 years now. And then maybe the surprise have been the cornerbacks. They were struggling at the beginning of the year, Deshaun Lee and T.J. Hall. Not real big guys. The Hawks are going to have to get some pressure on your outstanding quarterback Saturday so he doesn't pick on those corners.
What a scouting report from Gary Dolphin, the voice of the Hawkeyes. I'm curious to ask you now a little zoom out before we talk keys to this game. Having that longevity of Kirk Ference, what's that meant to Iowa here?
Oh, it's priceless. I mean, it's you can't put a value on it. I remember, Joey, I've been doing the games for 28 years now. I had Hayden Fry's last 2 years, and every one of Kirk's 210 victories, whatever the total is, he's never changed. And I remember 15 or 20 years ago, I think they won the Capital One Bowl in 05 or 06 when he got a huge boost in pay to $5.6 million a year. And I dare say 3/4 of the state of Iowa went ballistic because he's making more than the governor. He's the highest paid state employee in the state of Iowa. And I had to school some more ardent Iowa fans. And this is 20 years ago now. I said, look, the Iowa program Iowa football grossed $95 million this year. Once they paid for all 24 sports, they netted $33 million. You don't think Kirk Ference is worth $5.5 million?
Right.
And the irony is he's never asked for a raise since then. He's still around $5 to $6 million. That is a bargain for a Hall of Fame coach today. And I don't need to tell you who's out there making 10, 11, 12, $15 million a year. And I get it. Good for those coaches. That's how the game has changed. But the state of Iowa is in love with Kirk Ference. He could basically do whatever he wants. And he grew up in Pittsburgh, but he'll tell you he's an Iowan all the way. And his steady Eddiness, that's a big reason why the staff hasn't changed. I don't know. Maybe he might have had 2 coaching changes in the last 6-7 years. One retired and another took an offensive coordinator's position. But Phil Parker's been here with him every step of the way. Tim Lester now came in from Green Bay 2 years ago. The Hawks run the Packers offense. Now they don't run the NFL spread or no huddle, but they run the Packers offense. Iowa will huddle up more. Sometimes they'll go to a quicker, no huddle, maybe a 2-minute offense. But Lester, he's continuing to get his players in on the offensive side of the football. But he's a guy that Kirk Ference, something clicked between the two. And Kirk knew he had to open things up a little bit more, had to get a little more modernized. As Hayden Fry used to tell me, when November comes and the winds are blowing and that ground is as hard as concrete, you better be able to run the football. But Hayden threw it as much as anybody when he was at SMU and North Texas and at Iowa. So Iowa's still going to run the football, but they've got a much more productive passing component now. But that's Kirk Ference. He loves staying the same, and it's worked well for Iowa.
Gary Dolphin, the voice of the Hawkeyes. I'll leave you with this. The view of the Ducks from the Iowa perspective and some keys to the game. Gary, what do you think?
Well, I'll give you my keys to the game, and it starts with Dante Moore. I mean, and I assume I listened to Dan Lanning's press conference earlier in the week, and he said he's not missed a practice. He's going to play. So that said, the Hawks are more of a physical, brawn. Iowa has decent speed. Iowa's really upgraded in speed the last few years, but they don't have the quickness or the change of direction that this Oregon offense has. So the Iowa defense needs to do what they've been doing. Don't let them beat you over the top. As the legendary Norm Parker said, I'll go to Vegas with your money. I'm not going to Vegas with my money. And translation is, don't let them beat you deep. Now, Oregon's used to chunk plays, explosive plays. Hawks need to limit the explosives. And I think Iowa's defense will be just fine like it is every week. The offense got to run the football, keep it away from Dante Moore. And then I'll go back to how we started the show, Joey. To me, it comes down to special teams and turnovers. Who takes better care of the ball? The Hawks were -1 in turnovers before at the start of this winning streak. They're now +5. Do the math. That's pretty good here in the last 3 or 4 weeks, whatever the winning streak is. But if you give the ball away, the Hawks are going to be in trouble. But Caden Weegan and turnovers, those are my 2 major keys, everything else being equal.
Gary, you and I are going to get along great. Those are my keys also to give you the full breakdown of what else we're going to talk about on Duck Insider over the next few days. He is the voice of the Hawkeyes, Gary Dolphin. I can't thank you enough for taking the time. I look forward to seeing you again and shaking your hand in the stadium press box, sir.
Hey, Joe. Good talking to you. And, let me just conclude by saying I can't tell you how great it is to have those 4 former Pac-12 schools in this league. The Hawks go to USC next week. That's no cup of tea. I've done a few games in the Coliseum over the years. It's great from a culture standpoint to have Washington and Oregon, as well as the Trojans and the Bruins in this league. And I look forward to coming out there for basketball this year to Eugene. I was out there for an NIT game a few years back.
That's right.
Devin Marble, son of the great Roy Marble, had I think 37 points. In Iowa, we lost by 20 some. So It was 119-98, if I remember. But I'm still trying to get used to the trees and the floor, but it's a great scene. It's a great thought. So I'll leave you with that. Take care, bud.
Good stuff. Gary Dolphin, awesome guy, first and foremost. Great broadcaster, and I just love getting to talk with these guys that in the Pac-12 it was like, okay, we renew the friendship every week, right? Every year. Now in the Big Ten, get to talk with some of these legendary folks that have been doing this for a long time and at the highest level of my profession. So much respect for Gary Dolphin. Looking forward to seeing him again coming up at Iowa on Saturday. Timeout. When we come back, I always say I love a good punter. I think James Ferguson-Reynolds fits the bill. Keep it here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by one of your local branches today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
When life blindsides you with an injury, you need a team that's tough. For over 30 years, Morgan & Morgan has been fighting for the people. This season, we're proud to partner with Oregon Athletics. Because whether it's on the field or in the courtroom, we're both determined to do what it takes to win. Morgan & Morgan, proud partner of Oregon Athletics. Injured? Dial pound law. Morgan & Morgan, 10150 Southwest 6th Avenue, Portland. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.
Back to the Country Financial Studios in 60 seconds. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
You said you'd never buy your kid candy from the checkout aisle. Or forget extra diapers. You'd never lick your thumb to clean their face. Never, ever become a minivan mom. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk in temperatures as low as 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
We just kind of knew from the beginning that we were family.
They showcased a sense of love that I never had before. I mean, he's not only my parent, he's like my best friend.
At the end of the day, it's all been worth it. I wouldn't change a thing about our lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
I'm coming home to the place that I remember. Back to the land of my first love. Would you spread wide your arms for this wayward son? I left my heart in Oregon.
It's Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. I'm Joey Mack in the Country Financial Studio. It's become this running joke now that I always say, I just love a good punter. I just really appreciate what a often thankless position can do for a game. And James Ferguson-Reynolds has been one of the best punters in the country. You talk about changing the game. That's what Joe Lorig, Duck Special Teams Coordinator, always says. Change the game, change the game, change the game. James Ferguson-Reynolds has been changing the game.
Kind of a silly one to start, but what's your history with throwing a football? I think a lot of people were impressed with your throw against Wisconsin. How much background do you have there?
Very slim. Obviously, got a lot of time on the sideline, so I think I actually throw more than I kick, and it's kind of a dream come true again. I said in the last interview I did that, it was kind of felt like a football player for 5 minutes running, but did it again. That was probably the coolest moment of my life, and then the most depressing moment of my life. But it was really good.
I'm sure certainly the coaches track any number of things, punts inside the 20, all those sorts of things. But how much do you follow not just your outcome, but then the impact that it has? Because in terms of punts inside the 20, what happens to the opposing offense on those drives that ensue is obviously really great results. So, like, how much pride do you take in that, not only when you achieve what you're supposed to do, but then the impact that has for the defense and the team as a whole?
Oh, it's huge. You know, I try not to focus about that, and obviously trying to think of your own stats. You try and, you know, keep that in the back of your mind, and, you know, it's a part of my game where I've grown a lot. You know, the one stat that I am looking at is the net punt, and, you know, we've been perfect on that all year. We haven't had one return all year. You know, no touchbacks, and that's something I take pride on. You know, obviously it takes all 11 guys on the field to do that. So, you know, really proud of the group that, you know, go out and cover the punts. You know, don't going down there and downing them on the 1-2. It's huge, and all credit goes to them. But like you said, you pin the ball on the 1 and inside the 5 and 10. It's you know, multiple times it's turned into a 3 and out, and they punt, and we get a touchdown off it. So field position battle's huge.
A lot's been said around the program about how good of a snapper Luke Basso is. Can you speak to that, and how does that help you just perform as well as you can?
He's automatic. You know, like we've seen, he's just lights out, and it helps me. You know, I don't have, that's one less thing I have to worry about, because I know he's automatic. You know, I'm not having to worry about if the snap's coming in high or low. You know, I just worry about the punt, go out there, and, you know, I expect the ball to be there, and it's there every time.
We've seen you employ kind of a low trajectory bouncing punt several times. Is there a name you have for that? And kind of walk us through your history with that and how you've perfected it, because it's worked, I think, with pretty impressive results all year.
Yeah, it kind of just depends on the wind and what the weather's doing. You know, last weekend we saw one that went down to the 1. You know, they had heavy wind in the face, and, you know, we've played a lot of good returners. You know, we're facing one this week, and, you know, just we like to keep the ball away from the returner most times, and you know, whether that be putting the ball on the ground or kicking it away from him. And that's just another reason to get the ball away from him, and, you know, kicking into a strong wind. You know, I didn't want to hang it up there and get it caught up in the wind, and we get the ball at the 20 versus rolling one down to the 1. So, yeah, just depending on weather.
Following up on that, Coach Loriga talked about how a returner can certainly impact the game, but impact the punter and get into your head, especially when you are playing a returner who is this good and could be that much of a threat. How does that impact, I would say not preparation, obviously preparation's the same, but how does that impact how you is thinking about it strategically? What does go through your mind when you know the guy on the other end of the field is probably the best in the country at what he does? Yeah,
no, definitely. He's a very dangerous threat. He is the best in the country of what he's done, and, you know, he's broken multiple records this year, and, you know, that's a big emphasis point. But, you know, I try not to get caught up in it. You know, I just like to play the game and stay aggressive, and, you know, my goal is to hold him to absolutely 0. So, as we've done all year, we've held everyone to 0, and that's the main goal, is, you know, just setting up our team in the right spot. And, you know, I trust the guys getting down there and keeping him to 0. But, yeah, just, you know, it is a point of emphasis. But, again, just playing our game and keeping the ball away from him will be the biggest emphasis.
I guess following up on your mention kind of the weather component, are you, like, constantly throughout the week checking weather projections? And then over the course of a game, are you getting data of, like, this is what the wind is like? Or how are you tracking that and kind of putting that into your game?
It's been very inconsistent. So, you know, I check it Monday and it says it's raining, and then we get to Friday and Saturday and, you know, it never rains in Onsen. But, yeah, I check it coming towards game day, you know, Thursday, Friday. But, yeah, I love playing in the rain. Rain's fun, but no wind, please. Just no wind.
Odd question, but because of Iowa's history with punting in particular, and this venue in terms of how close they are and all those sorts of things, but, like, is there an excitement as a punter to go up against a school where one of their mottos is punting is winning? Like, is there an actual excitement to that for your position? Because your position generally, most fans love the fact that you had 2 games where you were not on the field.
Yep.
So, like, but this is a game where, as good as their defense is and other things, but, like, that they take great pride in punting as a whole.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, I see a lot of the stuff on social media too, and all their fans decked out in punting shirts, and it's yeah, it's awesome. It gets me excited and fired up. And I went to a game this weekend, and, you know, I was there cheering for punts on both sides. You know, I'm that guy yelling in the stands for a punt. So, you know, it's pretty cool to come up to a really famous team that's known for their punting and had really good punters over the years, and the last one being Tory Taylor that got drafted a couple of years ago. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting.
James Ferguson-Reynolds, Oregon punter. I think he is a huge key in this game against Iowa. Not just keeping it out of Weejan's hands, one of the best return men in the country, maybe the best return man in the country, but also the field position battle. I keep coming back to that, the field position battle. And his ability to pin teams deep has been really elite this year. James Ferguson-Reynolds talking with the media this week. Coming up next, we're going to zero in on the trenches. both sides of the football. Emanuel Pregnon, Matteo Uiagalelei. Stick with us on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
More Duck Insider from the Country Financial Studios after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
When I smoke weed, I get lost in the music. I like to isolate each instrument. The rhythmic bass, the harmonies on the piano, the sticky melody.
Hey, careful, babe. There's someone crossing the street.
Sorry, I didn't see him there.
If you feel different, you drive different. Don't drive high. It's dangerous and illegal everywhere. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You know you make me wanna kick my heels up and throw my hands up and throw my head back and come on now. So good to see you real.
It is match day for Oregon volleyball tonight. The Ducks hosting Women in Flight night against UCLA. 7 o'clock. It's on Fox Sports 1. I'm looking forward to a big-time matchup for Oregon volleyball. I said this to start the show. I think this is a critical match in terms of Big Ten standings, postseason positioning. It's also, let's be honest, it's a big one for Trent Kirsten. He played at UCLA, got a win at Poly earlier this year, and now hosting UCLA here coming up at Matthew Knight Arena tonight at 7 o'clock. Just heard from James Ferguson-Reynolds as we welcome you back to Duck Insider, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Look, special teams is a key. The battle in the trenches is also a key. And Emanuel Pregnon summed it up really well, I thought, in his 6.5 minutes meeting with the media this week. It does come down to the trenches. And it won't surprise you that an offensive lineman often feels that way. Emanuel Pregnon.
Games probably going to be decided in the trenches. How exciting as an offensive lineman is it to go into a game where you know that's going to be kind of where this game may be decided?
To clarify, just like my experience.
Just this game feels like a game where it's going to be decided kind of at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, well, I believe that's really the game of football is like it's really decided in the trenches. You know, the line of scrimmage is really what determines the path of the game, whether it's going to go in the favor of, you know, the opponent or view, depending on what that looks like. So for this game specifically, I feel like that's the most pivotal thing is us being able to win at the point of attack, dominate, you know, just really every play in and out and being tone setters, you know, what we've been doing and just continue to expound on those things.
From what you've seen on tape, is when they're a top 10 defense, and that's kind of the way they go about things historically, like what makes them that way? Obviously, we can look at stats and say they're a top 10 defense, but what do they do schematically from what you've seen? You don't have to get breakdown and everything, Emanuel, but like, what would you say makes them so good on defense? Makes them a challenge?
Well, I think that I think scheme is one thing. Another thing I think is, the coaching staff. So I believe, that coaching staff has, prepared those guys well enough for them to, to do what they're doing, what they're putting out on tape now. I believe even beyond that, really comes down to from a schematic standpoint to a coaching staff standpoint is like, the players and the effort. I feel like they're big effort guys. And yeah, I mean, in terms of all of that, that's pretty much my breakdown. I think, them being a top 10 defense really comes from those three things. It's as simple as it may seem, but yeah.
Do you believe in momentum or building confidence from game to game? In the second half against Wisconsin, obviously, was kind of won on the backs of the running game and the offensive line setting up the run game. Do you believe that is something that you guys are carrying some extra confidence into this matchup from, or is it just kind of throw that away and move
on? What was Wisconsin? Maybe 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. As far as my philosophy, Wisconsin was Wisconsin. We have a new opponent, new game, and that means we're gonna have to, continue to do what we've been doing throughout the season. And yeah, as far as building momentum and everything, I think we get that momentum from each other. The standard we set for each other, and the way we push each other, what we demand out of ourselves, and continuing to relay that to the others around us, so that we can all be on the same page, be on the same level, and kind of be one. So,
as you've gotten to know Noah over this year, just what stands out about him as a player, as a teammate, even as a running back specifically? Just what stands out to you about him, and what makes him important to this team?
Who was that? Noah? Yeah. What stands out about him to me is, I feel like he's a down to earth guy. Very cool, very chill. Will always say what's up, greet you, even greet you on the way out. I feel like with Noah, we've had a lot of deep conversations on ball, our careers, a lot of things. We've talked about a lot of things that I can't really talk about here, but yeah, I would say, he's like a very upright, like honorful type of dude. Just like coming in here, we were on the field discussing, the standard that we should be upholding, and just continuing to emphasize those things, right? So like when I think of Noah, I think of a leader. I think of a guy that's fearless, that has been through, a lot of things in his career, just like me, and is resilient. So when I'm blocking, that's a guy that, when I know it's in the backfield, I want to block the hell out of the dude in front of me because, he's back there and I want to see him win just as much as I want to see myself win.
What have you seen from Iowa's linebackers, especially in the run game?
I think they're very physical, very aggressive at the point of attack. All around, they're just, like I said, just like the D-line, they remind me of very like high effort players. I give them their props. I've seen it's some tape. Been watching some tape. I think they're pretty good players. And like you guys have been saying, the stats speak for themselves and stuff like that. So just coming into this game, that's why I believe it's pivotal that as far as those things, those traits, I think we have to outmatch them in those traits. Things like effort, things like aggressiveness, physicality at the point of attack, and really just play our game while we do that.
The Ducks call him E-Man. Emanuel Pregnon, meeting with the media. Look, no surprise, he says it comes down to the trenches. Well, how about on the defensive side? When we come back, let's hear from Matteo Uiagalelei. What does he think about this Hawkeye offense? Keep it here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by one of your local branches today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
We know you turn to the Duck Store for all your game day needs. And for students at the University of Oregon, it's even more. Class supplies, jobs, a seat on our board, a place to take a quick coffee break. Because we're your student-first, non-profit college store, every purchase you make directly supports the very community we serve. From working at our counters to studying in the classroom, from directing our stores to cheering in the stands, the people we serve, the students, are the very people who are the Duck Store.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
You wanted to be cool, which led you to smoking, which led to a pack a day. Then you met that special someone, which led to starting a life with them, which led to wanting to live longer, which led to quitting. Then you heard you may be at risk for lung cancer, which led you to getting a low-dose CT scan. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
We're back inside the Country Financial Studio. It's Duck Insider presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Emanuel Pregnon on the offensive line. Now Matteo Uiagalelei on the defensive side of the ball. Some of his thoughts heading into this matchup with the Hawkeyes.
Out on film, and how excited are you for this challenge?
Yeah, I think, the whole offense as a whole, like just the running game. And that's what you expect from Iowa. But just the whole O-line unit as a unit, they all won, and then they just play good together. Physical.
Yeah, in a game like this Wisconsin one where you don't get too many opportunities to rush the passer, where does your focus go, and how do you kind of help this unit stay kind of locked in on a game where you really do have to stop the run and take advantage of the ball being less secure?
Yeah. I think you said it, you focus on stopping the run. If you get them into the situation where they have to throw the ball, maybe throw it long, that's good, but you got to stop the run to get there. So stop the run, be physical up front, just do your job. That's kind of the theme of the week, be physical.
You guys certainly haven't allowed very many opponents to get inside the red zone, Matteo, but when they do, they've had success. What do you think you guys can do, or you can do personally, to help get some better results there and stop teams from scoring once they get inside the red zone?
Mm-hmm. That's definitely something we're trying to focus on as a team. I'll just say, sounds cliche, but everybody doing their job. I don't know. It's like you got to have like the mindset, like, the end zone back there. That means everything. We can't let them in there. So just practicing harder and having that mindset. I think it's going to improve.
We think back to last year's Wisconsin game. Felt like a kind of a similar situation. November game, you go into a traditional Big Ten spot.
that was a game you had a big impact in, where you're going against a team that's going to try to make it muddy up front. It's going to try to play ugly physical football. Does that excite, those matchups excite you when you know you're going to have to kind of impose your will and just bring that physical dominance to the field against Iowa?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely excites me, going against a team that, I'll probably say they're underrated. They lost to like some really good teams. They lost to Indiana, and some people probably could have said like they should have won that game, and they lose a rivalry game. But yeah, it's a really good team, and I don't know, it's always exciting, playing in big games like this in a big environment. So, I mean, I'm excited. Our whole team's excited.
Yeah, their quarterback's pretty big, thick guy, runs the ball a lot. How key is it not only just to get yourself to the ball, but multiple hats on him?
Yeah. He has good legs. That's probably the first thing I heard about him. He's a good running quarterback. And then you realize, this guy's pretty big too. So, like you said, all 11 hats to the QB, like in a run game and a pass game if he scrambles out, and then just caging him. But all of that's going to be important from everybody on the defense.
You were a guy that came in at the same time as Tatum, playing the same position off the edge. Just how have you seen him develop, especially this year with the pass rush, adding moves, adding the spin move, adding the bull rush, continuing to just develop his game and make it so that teams can't put all their focus on you off the edge?
Yeah, I mean, I think ever since Tatum got here, he's I feel like he set the standard on the whole defense of like what work ethic looks like. I always felt like he was always a good pass rusher, but I definitely think he took like a big step this year. And to be honest, I think it was just his confidence in his pass rush moves. Like in practice, I've seen him do that for like the past 3 years, and now he kind of gets the opportunity, and he's just been killing it in the game. So I'm not surprised at all. That's what I expect from him.
Counting stats, your production's been down a little bit the last 3 games. Can you kind of maybe assess your own performance? Then what's the key to maybe unlocking you to get out there and be a little more productive in that sense?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to stat chase. I don't think anyone is, but obviously you want production. So like it's I don't know the word to describe it, but I just feel like a lot of teams we played have been like, I think one of their goals is like not to let us rush.
One of the goals, not to let them rush the quarterback. That's because Oregon's been pretty good at rushing the quarterback. A lot of great stuff from Matteo Uiagalelei as we wrap it up. Volleyball in action tonight. See you tomorrow.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something